Welcome to Created Healthy. I'm Dawn Combs. It's a common idea that God gave us everything we need in nature, but do we believe it enough to walk that out in truth? Often the very same people who say this go looking for answers on how to use food and medicine from man-made sources. Everything man creates comes with a user's manual. Why would God be any different? I challenge you to join me in seeking revelation about our body, mind, soul, and spirit health by digging into His written word and in practicing pure science in the visible world of His creation. Are you welcoming and encouraging to the truth tellers that live around you, that are in your friend group, or do you find yourself alienating them? I have a friend that I often kind of called her out as sort of being gifted as a truth teller. Truth can be uncomfortable. It can be hard to hear, and it is the responsibility of the person that tells the truth to say it in love, but it is not the responsibility of those who need to hear it. It's not the responsibility of the truth teller to worry about how the people who need to hear it react. Truth is a really difficult commodity, and today the reading is in 1 Kings 15 through 18, and it's kind of a reflection of where we are today in how truth tellers are being treated. We're in a world today where those that would speak the truth are often squelched. They're asked to be silent because it's uncomfortable. It's not loving to say the truth. We would rather have a lie be told because it makes people feel comfortable than to hear a truth spoken that will make somebody question their actions or have to change their behavior to match fundamental truth. So here in 1 Kings, we are looking at kind of Israel is just descending into the depths. God has already sort of allowed them to walk away from Him, and He's working to maintain His promise to David that He will always have a descendant on the throne, but has also sort of washed His hands of the evil. With all of the kings changing guard, you see each successive king coming into place with, it's mentioned whether they walk in the example of David or whether they walk in the example of their fathers who were evil. And most of them are walking in evil ways. And the evil is that God sees the king and the leader of the society causing Israel to sin, with their example, causing Israel to sin. So again and again, you're seeing a king rise up, and then he dies, and his son takes the throne. And just before we get to what I want to call out from today's reading, there's a series of men that are coming to power because they conspire against the king, and then they become king and they wipe out the entire lineage of the last king. All of their sons, everybody who was in their household, they just wipe them off the earth. And that happens for a few successive kingdoms, kings' reigns, where we really see Israel going deep into the evil realm. And one of these men is Omri, and he has a son named Ahab. And Ahab is born and takes the throne after Omri dies. And Ahab is actually the king that marries the famous Jezebel of the Bible. And it says Omri was classified as having done more evil than all of the kings before him. And Ahab, it said that he did even more evil than Omri. So we are just getting worse and worse. And the example that's set before us is easy to follow and even top. So there are temples to Baal, there are Asherah poles. And I think in this situation,
in this sort of world, truth, which was represented from the prophets of God. Prophets of God were maybe like what I'm saying of my friend, gifted with telling the truth, gifted with being able to speak truth. And I do think that it's a gift, and I also think that prophets are special here. They are able to tune in and hear God, and God does favor them by speaking to and through them. But I think anybody who is able to accurately see the truth and speak the truth is in some sense touching this lineage of the prophets. So Jezebel sets about trying to kill all of the prophets of God. We can't have any truth tellers. And this is where Elijah the prophet comes into being. God takes him aside and speaks to him and brings him up into his full God-given talent and power. And Ahab immediately labels Elijah as a troublemaker. He's the troublemaker. He's the troubler of Israel. And I think that is often how our society is looking at those who speak the truth now. And looking at somebody who speaks God's truth. This can be directly out of the Bible. It can be directly out of the truth of what we see in the design of creation. If you speak truth, you are labeled a troublemaker because we don't want to hear the truth. We don't want to hear that there is a natural law that is being violated or that there is a wrong being done, because we want to worry about people's feelings. And it's better to speak a lie that is politically correct, comfortable, popular, than to speak the truth. And Elijah is pushed off into the wilderness, and we see that there are 100 other prophets that are saved that will come into play, I think, in the next reading that we do. But I think it's worth looking at these passages, these chapters, in light of what are we doing with the truth? The truth is critical for our health. If we don't follow truth, we can't be healthy. Mentally, emotionally, physically, if you do not follow the laws of nature, you become ill. And as we see again and again in all of these kings, the story of these kings, it specifically says whether they are good or evil. And it seems that a lot of the good ones, the ones that are walking in God's path, have longer reigns. They're able to be on the earth and in power, influencing Israel longer than many of those that are walking in evil. Their reigns are cut short. They're killed. They become diseased. There are many ways that they're being taken out, and you can draw a really clear distinction here between those who are walking in God's path and their health and their influence versus those who are walking in the path of evil, in their own path or their father's path, in a human path. On the human path is that value of lies and conspiracies, and only those that are reigning and having good influence on their culture are valuing the prophets, those truth tellers. And here, this is such an amazing story. If you sit down and read, of course, I don't have enough time to get all the way into this, but even the way that Elijah speaks out against all the prophets of Baal in this story where God lights water on fire, showing the difference between those who are representing themselves as telling things that the king wants to hear, good words that everybody should follow, and it's popular and it's correct, instead of speaking truth, which is uncomfortable. Elijah gets that reputation of being a troubler of Israel, but he presses on. He continues to speak the truth, even as it is a threat to his own life. He continues to speak the truth, and speaking the truth preserves him. Truth is a funny thing, and definitely a struggle in today's world, but I think it is definitely one that we are meant to ponder and look at in light of our complete and holistic health. I pray that God is blessing you today and that He brings you back to study with me again on another day. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share with a friend. And I'm always interested in hearing what God is laying on your heart. So drop me a rating or review, or join the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube at Don Combs Really.